Hi there, Karen Valerity from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well this week. This week we'll be talking about the gate 16, which is all about enthusiasm or not. So starting today, May 27th, Friday, the sun moved into the gate 16 and it goes until June 1st. The earth is in gate 9, which is the gate of focus. And so we've got the 16 up here coming off the throat, the left side of the throat, and then the 9 coming off the bottom of the sacral down here. And neither of them connect to anything else. So we start the week with 4 centers defined. That's the ajna and the throat because of the 4323. And then we still have the 360 in. And so that defines both the sacral and the root center. Then by the 31st of May, the 3 moves out of Venus, and the 27 comes in. And then that doesn't connect with anything either. That's over here coming off the side of the sacral. And so we're back to just the ajna and the throat being defined for the transits this week. So it should be not too much of a change, relatively quiet, and those with the sacral, having had the sacral defined a bit over the past week, you might feel a little tired. So just expect that. So we've got the sun in gate 16, which is usually called enthusiasm or skills in the original I Ching. It's basically part of the channel of talent, and it connects up with the 48, which is the gate of depth. And when you have both of those together, basically you have a channel of talent, because you've got the enthusiasm to get things started and you've got the depth to keep them going, right? And so they call this the great art of enriching life by the harmonic channeling of energy. And really, enthusiasm, when you think about it, it is a lot about energy, right? It's the enthusiastic person, the person who's, kind of the cheerleader for people, very empowering, very uplifting, that kind of energy. And so in the incarnation crosses this week, we've got the cross of planning, enthusiasm, and identification. For the gate 9, this is the gate of focus coming off the bottom of the sacral. This is truly the energy to focus that sacral energy that you've got, or not. Even if you don't have sacral energy, it's still the ability to focus. And so they call it the taming power of the small, or the energy for details in the original I Ching. And what this means is that when it's time, and especially for people with the sacral nudge, basically the sacral, energy to, when you feel that sacral urge, basically to get something done, you'll get it done. I use this all the time. It's the gate of focus is very helpful. And it's actually, I would say, the opposite of procrastination. When you're focused, you're ready to get something done. You sit down, you get it done. When you're procrastinating, it's only because it's not the right time. My theory is that when you're procrastinating, it's just not the right timing for you. So when you do feel it's the right timing, either through your sacral or through whatever your strategy is, then when you sit down and focus on it, you will get it done. So they say it's the potential that can be fulfilled through detailed attention to all pertinent aspects. And in the gene keys, inertia is the shadow, determination is the gift, and invincibility is the CD. So in the gene key 16, we've got where shadow is indifference. The shadow is indifference here. The gift is versatility, and the CD is mastery. And so in this graphic, Richard says, the more you expand into your talent, the more the universal field of consciousness responds, coming to meet you halfway. And so what this is about is mastery. It's once you know what you want, once you know what you are enthusiastic about, once you know what really lights you up and turns you on and makes you feel like you could do this forever and for no money, that's the kind of stuff you should be doing. And anything else just doesn't meet that criteria. When you're doing something that, your teachers told you should do, or your parents told you should do, or anybody else who's an influence in your life told you should get into, and it doesn't feel right, it's not the right place for you. You're basically just taking up somebody else's space. If you're in a job that doesn't make sense for you, that doesn't feel good, if you're in a career that doesn't light you up, get out of it. It's not for you. It's for somebody else. There are plenty of other people in the world who would love that job. It's just not for you if it doesn't light you up. And so find something that does, and then you'll be happier. There's a quote from Elie Wiesel, who was a Holocaust survivor and writer, that Richard had in the Gene Keys book. And I put it in here last year because it was appropriate. I felt it was appropriate because it was the first anniversary of George Floyd's killing. And this year, unfortunately, we have another mass murder to think about, to talk about, to decide if we're going to be indifferent. So he says the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. And so not every cause is going to be for you. I understand not every career is going to be for you, but find the ones that do light you up, and find the ones where you can make a difference, and find the ones that would help the world. It's not about making a huge difference. It's just about making a difference that makes a difference for you. Because when you're working on something that lights you up, that gives you passion, that gives you reason to keep going, it's what we're here for. So we got quite a few personalities born in the Sun Gate 16. That's planning, the cross of enthusiasm and identification. And so I think it was a few weeks ago, there were just more than I could put on the page. And this week's the same way. So John F. Kennedy, we're going to be talking about in a minute. Gladys Knight, Melissa Etheridge. So, you can imagine a lot of enthusiastic singers, right? Actors, people in various professions who are just lit up by what they're doing. Marilyn Monroe also happens to be in this timing. Clint Eastwood, Brooke Shields, Morgan Freeman, Heidi Klum, Rachel Carson, who was an environmentalist in the 60s and 70s. Cornelius Vanderbilt, who was an infamous robber baron in the 1800s. And then I even added a few over here: Jamie Oliver, Henry Kissinger, Ian Fleming, who wrote all the James Bond's books, and John Fogerty, the musician. So again, this is probably a time of the year when there were just a lot of babies born. In fact, I heard recently at a baby shower that the highest birth weight babies are born in May. And you can imagine that makes sense, right? That spring is upon us, and things are growing and maturing, and the biggest babies come in May. All right, so taking a look at John Fitzgerald Kennedy's birth chart, we can see that he was born on May 29th in 1917 in Brookline, Massachusetts. He happens to be a 3-5 profile projector. He is the right angle cross of planning, and he was the 35th president of the United States. Now, you probably know quite a bit about him already. I was able to get an actual birth time for him, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and on May 29th, and he does have that 16 in his conscious sun. So he was enthusiastic, I would say, but it was a charismatic enthusiasm that he had, because I would say it was married with the defined will center. He was also emotional. He also had the emotional solar plexus defined, connected by the 4037, which is the channel of agreements or community. And so he was definitely about bringing the community together, but with agreements. And so it's what made him a good negotiator, a good statesman, representative of the people, and somebody who could actually speak quite eloquently, because he was quite educated, but he also cared. From my perspective, at least, he cared. So he had that 16, 31. He had the gate of influence. I'll move back up here. He had the 47. Now, I just wanted to mention the 47 is both in his moon. 47 is in his moon, but so is the 35. And so he was motivated both by, kind of intellectual pursuits, mindset, coming up with epiphanies, basically. And then the 35 is all about change. And he has it both conscious and unconscious. So it shows up somewhere else here. 35 in his, so Venus, and he likes change. He had the storyteller, which was great for making speeches. The 23 was all about breakthroughs. The 62 is about details, which from what I've heard, he had a good handle on all the details. The 13 is the listener. So he was able to listen to both sides in the negotiations and make things work. He also had the 15, which is the love of humanity, the 2, which is how to save and spend resources, which most of his family was very good at. Having come from a wealthy family, that was 1. He does have the gate 30, which is intensity, and basically amps up everything in the chart. So although he's a projector and he only has these 2 centers defined and everything else is open, where he could be very wise about all these other parts of the chart, he does have this gate also of intensity. 39, provocation. 49 was about principles and fighting for the principles. He also had the gate of 54 for ambition. 38, knowing what's worth fighting for. The 9, focus. The 53, starting things. So you can see how all these piece together the pie or the puzzle that was President Kennedy. And then interestingly, he had the 25, although it wouldn't have kicked in until he was 50-ish, around his Chiron return. He had the 25 in his Chiron return. He probably would have been or would have become a much more kind of spiritual leader, of a sort, even within politics, and very good in a crisis, with the 36 over here. So, interesting that he had the open throat, but because he was invited into the different political positions that he held, he was able to kind of move on. Once he was invited in, elected in to those positions, then he was able to experience them and make the decisions that he needed to make as he. So that's John F. Kennedy. I hope that was helpful. And for you this week, see how enthusiastic you are or indifferent you are. Or somewhere in between, because all of those things can come up and they will come up. And, given that it was such a tough week in the news with the war still going on and the, unfortunate killing of the children in Texas, in Uvalde, Texas, there's a lot going on. And so be kind to yourself, be aware that it may have, these events may have triggered other things for you and might have you feeling a little more tender than usual. So please, over this Memorial Day weekend, please take good care of yourself, get some rest, get some downtime, get some calming time, meditate if you need to, or get a massage or get out in nature, whatever suits you to get back to your center. So I hope you have a great weekend and be well, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you.